I'm going to tell the story of two Welsh duels. The first is about a man named Fortune, though he was very unfortunate and had a very unlucky horseshoe. Near the river at Haverfordwest is a rather pleasant park, which has the unusual name of Fortune's Frolic. In 1799, at the other end of Pembrokeshire, in Monington, a quiet place, the daughter of the House of Pant Saeson was engaged to be married to Samuel Fortune of Haverfordwest. That September both families attended the Hunt Ball in Tenby, giving the young couple, normally separated by distance, the chance to meet, dance and enjoy themselves. It should have been a happy occasion, but unfortunately Samuel had a bit of falling out with his fiancée's hot-blooded brother John James. The argument was about their trip to Tenby. The friends had ridden together, but at some point Samuel had lost a horseshoe and had to stop at a blacksmith's. John had agreed to go on slowly until Samuel caught up, but Samuel never did catch up. John James had not waited. It should not really have been a serious matter. They could have agreed to disagree, but John James wasn't one to be crossed, and he challenged Fortune to a duel over the argument. Duels were frowned upon at this time, but to refuse the challenge was unthinkable, so I'm sure with great reluctance Samuel Fortune agreed to meet his fiancée's brother in a quiet spot by the river at Haverfordwest. Present also, by custom and practice, would have been their seconds, and a doctor should injury result. The young lady would have been spared the awful scene, left at home to anxiously await news. The outcome would be dreadful if either her brother or her lover were hurt, or worse. Pistols were loaded and checked. There was at this stage always the opportunity to agree not to fight, or to shoot into the air and say honour was satisfied by Fortune's acceptance of the challenge. But John James was not the sort to compromise, so the duel went ahead in the customary manner. Samuel Fortune seems to have hoped or assumed, even at this late stage, that John James was not really serious about the duel. When the men had paced out the distance between them and turned, he fired his pistol harmlessly at the sky. John James aimed and shot his adversary in the chest. The immediate aftermath was a scene of chaos. John James and his second fled the scene and went to France. Poor Samuel Fortune was taken to a nearby cottage where he was attended, and thence on a door and improvised stretcher to his mother's home in Key Street, where he lingered for another day before finally expiring, and he was buried at St Thomas Churchyard. John James spent 10 years in France, where he was wanted for murder on the verdict of the coroner. A Welshman in an uncomfortable position during the Napoleonic Wars, and when he finally returned from France, he was appointed colonel in the Pembrokeshire militia. He survived a further 10 years and was buried in the family plot at Monington. The walk along the river at Haverfordwest is now named Fortune's Frolic, after Samuel Fortune. The name seems frivolous given the fatal outcome of the duel, but I suspect it was influenced by the name of a play which was first performed in the same year as that duel. The play was called Fortune's Frolic. In 1814, Newcastle Emlyn solicitor John Beynon was entertaining a guest from the West Indies, one Thomas Heslop. Beynon invited Heslop to join him in partridge shooting, but Heslop did not behave quite like a gentlemanly sportsman. They dined at the Salutation Inn in the evening, and drink was taken. Heslop started to complain about Beynon's fussiness on the shoot, because he wasn't allowed to shoot where he wanted, apparently. Allegedly, Beynon tried to change the subject by making an uncomplimentary observation on the appearance of the barmaid, which backfired spectacularly. Heslop sprang to her defence, he was rather keen on her, and called the solicitor a damned villain, amongst other things. Heslop was now so inflamed he challenged Beynon to a duel, which of course Beynon was forced to agree to. 2 days later the pair met in the usual quiet spot, in this case by the river between Llandyfriog and Emlyn Bridge. There was a local surgeon present, John Williams. What happened next is a matter of debate. The incident was subsequently so successfully hushed up that there were no real reports. Local legend says that before Heslop had finished his 10 paces, or however many he took, Beynon turned and fired, hitting him in the back. A local historian, the late Ken Jones, is said to have found proof from the medical evidence that the bullet actually entered Heslop's side, and he suggests Heslop's weapon misfired. Either way, he was shot. He was attended by the surgeon, but to no avail. It seems the surgeon kept the bullet extracted from the dying man as a grisly relic. Heslop was buried at Llandyfriog churchyard. He lies under a tomb bearing the inscription, "Alas, poor Heslop," now almost worn away, so another stone has been added, repeating the original inscription. Heslop was a stranger here. I wonder who paid for his monument. A guilty Mr. Beynon, perhaps? John Beynon was a solicitor. He knew killing a man in a duel was murder, but he was also influential and managed to get off on a charge of manslaughter by pulling every string at his disposal. Heslop had challenged him and not the other way round, which must have helped. The penalty was a fine, a shilling. Not much of a price for a man's life, is it? I hope you enjoyed these 2 stories of men who got away with murder. Please remember to hit the like button, and as always, thank you for watching.